Ho! What's good, people? Hip hop dance stories. Can you hear me, Fro? Can you hear us, Fro? Okay. Well, let me kick it off then. What's up, Fro? Half and half. Hey, Day. Got Day in the house. I miss you, dear. So without further ado, let me hit off this glorious intro. She hails from the loins of the great B.K. Kirkland. Woo! She was destined to come here. She traveled, met the likes of Mr. Magic and Marley Marl. She even left the Alvin Ailey dance studio to come to the hood and be down because we had more combinations. You did? It was more, had more flavor, had more style. Then she became a big music exec. She was down with A&M. Barry White was making songs about her. Then she got down with Ludacris. So, you know what? Forget this intro, nigga. Can I have a job? Can I send you my resume? I need to be down. Without further ado, y'all, Portia Kirkland, great Portia Kirkland.
Oh. Thank you. Thank you.
Word up, girl.
Thank you. What an introduction. That was awesome. Thank you so much. I'm really humbled. Right. I'm excited. Huh? So I'm excited to be here. You know, Afro, I'm really proud of you, and you're teamed up with somebody legendary and great. So really, really excited about your show.
Thank you for you guys hear?
We got in the house. We got Day in the house.
Can you guys hear me good?
You got a little chop going. You got a little chop going. But I think if you find a good spot, you're gonna be good. Oh, that's Fro. Yes. So another day, hip hop dance stories. Dana says, "What's up to the beautiful Portia?" Hey, what's up, Vashawn? Good in the house. I missed you this week, Dana. This would have been a perfect weekend to just hit the road like we do. Just find a spot.
Hey, Vashawn.
Do you do things like that sporadically, Portia? Or is everything planned?
Well, freestyling, of course. You see my unwind after work dance videos, right? My Healthy Hearts for Hip Hop videos have definitely spurred the moment. You know, when I'm trying to get my heartbeat up and you know, move a little bit, that definitely spurred the moment.
That's right. That's right. Get my banner up. So yeah, until Afro comes back, let's get into your story.
Okay.
So it's back to where you first got the love to boogie.
I love that word, boogie. I love that word, boogie. I, for as long as I can remember, wanted to dance. And, you know, when I think back, I think it was going to see The Wiz on Broadway with Stephanie Mills. And I remember coming home and just being amazed by this Broadway production. And as you mentioned, you know, I was raised in the music industry. My dad was just a disc jockey at the time for WBLS in New York and 92 KTU. But I was also raised by my stepfather, Carter Jefferson Jr., who you should also look up, legendary saxophonist. And so I was always around music, and I knew I wanted to dance. I wanted to sing. I wanted to play instruments, but obviously they didn't think I was as good at it. So they would just say, go dance, Portia, go dance. But in any case, I think, you know, my mom saw a gift. My stepfather, Carter Jefferson, you know, he saw the gift, and they put me in dancing school very early. So I've been dancing since 4. And that was the very beginning.
Dope. So I like to hear that story because, like I said, everybody's different. And it's usually either I was inspired by the Jackson 5 or inspired by an aunt.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And so, like I said, when I get to hear different ones, I'm like, okay.
Yeah. I mean, my aunts would say to me all the time, you're too hard on your feet. Dance light, Portia. You know, they would put the James Brown records on. So that's probably where I was inspired with James Brown. I'm a James Brown fan. I think anybody that knows me knows I'm JB all day. And that definitely came from my aunts, you know, the drums. But I also, you know, I think about it when I did go to Alvin Ailey. I thought that I was going to be a ballerina, didn't really fit, especially because, you know, young Black girls back then were kind of discriminated against, and, you know, we didn't really think that we fit in ballet, just didn't make sense. But at Ailey, at the Mintzcroft Theater, I remember hearing down the hallway some African drums, and the name of the technique was Dunham, after Catherine Dunham. And I was led to these drums, and I said, man, you know, I feel the same kind of passion about this Dunham technique that I do about JB, you know, that I feel about Latin music and drums. So this all takes me back to my childhood and where my love for dance began. It's all connected to that drum. On the one, of course.
That's right, on that one. Shout out to my boy V-Love here. He's our other co-host, right?
Okay.
And he's out on location. He's at one of them, those new hardcore rap battles.
Yes.
You know, yeah, he's at one of those right now.
Okay.
Try to make it. He said he got some action for me up there, but yeah, that's where he's at right now. But he will extends his love and all that good stuff.
Sweet. Hey.
So you start off with the formal training and stuff like that. So, and then you came to hip hop. Like usually it's the reverse. So what made you shake that and say hip hop is where I need to be?
Well, my dad was going into work to WBLS and dropping me off for dancing school. And there were some breakers outside the dancing school. And so I could see when I was at the bar for ballet, I could see outside on Broadway breaks, you know, the dancers out there. And I'm like, man, I'd like to do that. I want to do that. So when my dad started dropping me off, I would sneak out of ballet class and go downstairs. I'd have my toe shoes still on and go downstairs and find a circle, a cipher, and say, can you teach me how to do that? Can you teach me how to do that? And funny, you know, at the time, I know that there were other, you know, B-girls out there, but I just remember a couple of dudes around, and I was a bit intimidated, but I knew that it was something that I wanted to do, that something special was happening. And then I also recall seeing on the news with Sue Simmons, Rapper's Delight. And my dad came home, actually, I remember, looked like he was a bit stressed out. And he asked me, he said, do you like that rap music? Do you like rap music? And I was like, yeah, Dad, it's fresh. You know, and I remember him kind of struggling a little bit with playing rap during the day on the station. The station wasn't open to it at the time. This is, you know, during a period of time when hip hop was very new. I don't think we had a name for it. It's just growing. There's some kind of movement. Something is happening and it's not stopping. And who are these kids that are on the streets? Like, are they going to rob us? Like, I remember people crossing the street whenever we, you know, be outside dancing, and they would cross the street because they didn't know what we were doing. So, yeah, I mean, that's how it started for me. You know, my dad just dropping me off for dancing school. Little did he know I went outside on the corner and I was like, teach me how to do that. I want to do that.
Wow. So did that inspire him to, like, you know, really focus on, you know, dealing with Mr. Magic and, you know, that show and stuff like that? Like seeing the love you had for it?
You know, maybe. I think that, you know, he knew, again, that there was some kind of movement. I asked him the same question. I said, Dad, well, when did you know that this wasn't some kind of fad? And he said, coming into work on the West Side Highway, he started to see these jams in the park. And then week after week, they're growing. More people are outside. And he said, okay, this isn't stopping. This isn't a fad. And then he actually, you know, liked the music. But, you know, of course, with radio and ratings, you know, going to your boss and saying, like, I think we should add this. You know, we've got something here. I think it was scary for a lot of people at the time because they didn't understand the culture.
So were you getting a lot of good hip hop records from your pop? Was he bringing them home like before they hit the streets and stuff like that?
Not really, because, you know, remember, I mean, he was a disc jockey, and then a program director, and later went on to also KBLX in Berkeley, you know, in California, the Quiet Storm. And so for us in the earlier years, when I think about hip hop, I think I was hearing everything on cassettes, if I recall, you know, like your Cold Crush and Funky Four, and, you know, it was cassettes, it was underground. And for me, you know, hip hop at that time was James Brown. So, you know, I know that confuses a lot of people, but for me, you know, it's a culture and not so much just a music, a genre of music. So I don't recall with my dad hearing any records on vinyl at that time. No, everything was cassettes. See, cassettes.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that too. We used to go down to 1580 K-Day and they used to play the music in these like square things.
Yeah, yeah. Those square. Yeah.
So like a cassette, but they were a little bigger.
Are you talking about those 8-tracks?
Smaller than the 8-track though.
DATs?
Bigger than the DAT.
Yeah.
Bigger than the DAT. It was more like, it was like a cassette tape though, but I think it was better quality. It was better quality. Yeah. So what artists did you start dancing with first? So first you made a name for yourself in the circle, and then you start working with artists, or how did that go for you?
Yeah, I guess my first gig was with the Real Roxanne. Shout out to Joanne at the Palladium. That was probably my first show. The Real Roxanne and King Sun, Sunborn. Hey Love. Okay. That was the record. And you know, for me at the time, I mean, it was great to dance for someone. But this was all fairly new.
Okay.
The first time that I remember, maybe, hey, bro. I think the first time I remember dancing for someone as an option was probably the IOU, and that would be, you know, this group, Scoop and Scrap, were a part of a mic. IOU, maybe they danced for, you know, they were with Kane. It was the Latin Quarters. So it just started to seem like there were these artists that started to blow and they needed dancers. And that's when I recall people teaming up with different artists. Right, Fro? It was kind of, that was how it played out. I don't.
It seems like, yeah, it seems like that kind of played out a lot throughout history, at least with a lot of the females and just the dancers, period. I mean, chiming into where I chimed in at. So I could agree. Hey, Portia. Hey, Ledge. Hey, audience. Oh my God, I'm so sorry, y'all.
You were with
Can't do it.
you were with the Real Roxanne before the K9 Posse or during the
Oh,
K9?
the Canine Posse.
Mm-hmm.
No, actually, you know what? I can't recall if I ever danced with the Canine Posse, but I know my boys did. One of the crews that I used to rock with, they danced with the Canine Posse. I might have done it.
Okay.
Did they say that?
No, I was asking because they had came to LA, they had came to Hollywood Live one day, and the co-hosts Vance and Craig waxed them up. At that current time, I was into a little trouble with this Crip gang, so I was kind of low key. They was on my heels, so I had to be low key. But they came to the club, and Eddie Murphy's brother Vernon was like, "I heard some dudes in here supposed to be the best in LA, and man, they waxed all of them. It was just two of them against the whole." Yeah. So from that point on, it was all love.
Yeah, the crew that I used to dance with, they did a couple of shows with them. I mean, that's what being a dancer meant back then. You know, we didn't have that many artists and that many artists that were going mainstream or on tour. So for us, you know, a lot of that meant just hitting the club and getting in a cypher and freestyling and, you know, battling. And that was enough. That's what you lived for. And I think, you know, once we started to see things like music videos, shout out to Ralph McDaniels, you know, and we started to hear about casting calls, things like that. It was like, oh, wait a minute, we could dance in a video, or oh, we can dance and get paid for this. I remember, you know, getting paid for the first time, and I was like, but I just danced for 5 minutes, you know. So it was very new, you know, for us. And there are a couple of, you know, generations of dancers and hip hop, but in the very beginning, I mean, I think, you know, like Rocksteady crew, some of them were very successful and did, you know, television shows and tours, but that wasn't everyone's story. It didn't mean that you weren't a dope dancer. It just meant that that wasn't your path. There are some dancers that, you know, rock to just battle, to freestyle. And then there are some that, you know, wanted to be more mainstream and, you know, it was their career as well.
What you got, Fro?
Y'all broke up just then. Like, oh my God. Like, I just heard everything just jumble up just then. I'm like, where am I? Yo. Okay, so what was the last thing that you said? Because I didn't hear anything.
Well, I
hate that I'm in this area right now.
Well, because I know Afro so well, I know she would probably say the same thing that I'm saying. Afro is very similar to me in that, you know, we were two, you know, women that love the culture and love dance, period.
Yes.
So it wasn't about, sometimes we did shows and sometimes we didn't. Sometimes we were on the road and sometimes we didn't. That wasn't the end all be all for us. You know, it was like, what cypher can I get in? Who can I rock with? What new dance moves, you know, can I learn? But then there are also dancers, what I was saying, Afro, that decided that this would be their path and they would be professionals, and they were a part of the union, which eventually, you know, you become a part of the union after doing a certain amount of television. But I just wanted to make that distinction because there are legendary dancers. One of my mentors, for example, Fendi, who really taught me, you know, a lot of skill. He's somebody that probably didn't do a lot of touring, but if anybody within our circle who's a dancer, you hear the name Fendi, you're like, who was nicer than Fendi, right?
Yeah.
So just to
Fendi was the bomb. Oh my God.
Yeah, that's my guy right there. That brings me to this question right here, though, for you, Portia.
Okay.
Like I said, there were millions and millions of dancers, you know what I'm saying, around the world.
Right.
Like I said, it's names like, you know, Afro, Fendi, Scoob and Scrap. What made Portia Kirkland? Like I said, they always say your whole name. So what made Portia Kirkland stand out at that time in the golden era to where, like I said, I always wanted to meet you because, like I said, I always heard your name. So what was your move? What was your move? Was it your swag? Was it your style? What was it?
You know, I've thought a lot about that over the years. I think what made me different was most of my dance partners were guys. Okay, so my mentors were not female, and you know that wasn't an issue. It's just that because of the era that I came from, I liked boogieing, I liked locking, I liked breaks, right? So I wasn't your typical 90s, you know, dancer. In fact, I remember one time having to do the Apollo, and they came out with all these female clothes. And I was so uncomfortable. And I remember saying, they're going to look at our bodies. When we're on television, they're going to look at us and they're going to see us different, you know? So I think for me, I just wanted to be seen as a dancer. I wasn't worried about being sexy. I wasn't, trying to, be the video vixen. I just genuinely loved the culture. I loved hip hop. And so I think for me, that might've been the difference. I learned from, some of the best, but I also had the background in ballet and Dunham. And so when I rock, it doesn't have to be choreographed for me in order to feel it. And I assume I'm bringing in, all of these experiences, whether it's salsa, or the African drum. All of it to me is hip hop.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So what do you enjoy best, my sister? What do you enjoy best? Because you wear many hats, you know what I mean? And, you do so many great things, and it's like when we first met, I want to say we met in 91 for the Funhouse video. That's when I first met you. And you have been doing so much more than just dance, though. So when I sit down with you and I talk about your history, it blows me away, because when I say that you wear many hats, you really wear many hats. It's a 90s dance legend. It's not just, someone that has been in videos. You have managed different artists. You've even worked with Nicki Minaj. Like, my question for you is, how was that? Like, because that was her very beginning. So what part did you play in Nicki's life?
Well, I was there in the very beginning. Deborah Antney was, thank you, by the way. I appreciate that. Deborah Antney was, she volunteered, I believe, at the time for the Ludacris Foundation. And I met her then because I was director of marketing for Disturbing the Peace. And I had Ludacris and Bobby and Tit, who is now 2 Chainz, and very successful independent label, right, through IDJ, through Def Jam. And Deborah said, I'm going to come back. One day I'm going to come back, Portia, and, I'm going to start a label. And, the funny thing is, I'll admit that, I kind of slept on her at the time, because one thing about people in music, we label hop. We've known each other, like you said, for years, right? So
right.
You have a friend that's at Arista, you might work with them at Arista. 10 years later, you're with them at Capitol, or you're with them at Universal Music Group. Well, with Deborah, I, was like, okay, well, what label did she come from? How would you start a label, So when she came to me,
right.
She said that she had Gucci Man and Nicki Minaj. And if I could come over there and, set things up, she would be appreciative. And I went over on a Monday and brought some people on that I knew, India Graves, who works radio and promotions, and then Malcolm, who works the streets. And I previously worked with him at Disturbing the Peace for Mix Show, and the rest was history. We had OJ the Juice Man and Gooch, and then Nicki. And what I was saying to people on the phone actually is, look, we got this girl, Nicki Minaj. She's nice, and if you allow her to open, because Gucci had shows, I'm like, you know, she'll do it for free. I think that's how it started. You know, a lot of bartering. You know how it is in the beginning. So and that was it, and
Right.
took off. Yeah. So I'm blessed and fortunate, you know, enough to be able to transition, I would say, creatively. When we were,
Right.
you know, dancers, I think in '91,
Right.
a couple of years later, I was like, okay, what are we going to do? I'll tell you, actually, you want to know what the story was, Afro?
What?
You know, Eric Easy, you know, was a mentor. And I don't know if I did not realize, like, you know, that he was this businessman, but he worked at upstairs. Priority was upstairs. ASCAP was upstairs. I'm trying to remember that building on Cahuenga. And my cousin worked for CNN, and she would say, Eric, you know, my cousin, you know, she signed to A&M, you know, come and pick her up for a while, hang with her. Jerry Davis was at ASCAP at the time. And he would come and pick me up, and I would watch him, you know, and all of his business dealings. And I'm just like bored. Like, let's go dance. Let's go to Paradise 24. I'm ready to dance, you know? And it wasn't until he passed and until, you know, even having the opportunity to work with Tupac that I realized I'm going to have to do something else. I'm not going back on tour. We're not going on tour anymore. It's a wrap. I saw Led doing stuff with TV. Rosie started doing things. It was like all of our friends were trying to figure out what it was. Well, anyway, when Pac passed and Eric passed was when I assessed, what am I going to do? I still love to be creative. So when I graduated college, I was walking down the street on Broadway, 1755 Broadway. Hev was outside and Daddy-O was outside. And I said, you know, we were chopping it up, and I'm like, Hev, what are we supposed to do? Like, you know, we've been doing this thing now for years. Like, what are we supposed to do? He said, go upstairs and get a job. And I was like, what do you mean?
Hilarious. Yeah.
Because Uptown was upstairs. And I was like, what do you mean? He was like, go upstairs, talk to such and such, tell him you need a job. And I'm like, okay. Yeah. So I went upstairs and I got a job at Universal Music Group. And I actually started in the rock department.
Wow. Look at that.
Yep, in the publicity department. And I didn't start off as an intern. You know, I told them, look, I've been in the business. I've just been a dancer, but, you know, I know what a publicist does. And I didn't really care for publicity all that much. Shout out to Ellen Golden was her name, was who I worked with. Okay. And they had Uptown. We had Uptown, MCA. Eventually it was Kedar's label, Mark Pitts, a lot of us, you know. And that's where I got my start behind the scenes in the marketing department. And then eventually I got the job here at LaFace Records. And that's how I came to Atlanta.
All right, wait, Portia, before you go any further, is she coming in good, Ledge, at all? Like, can you hear her? Am I tripping? Yeah. Or is it just my end that I'm not hearing her?
Yeah, that's you. We're good.
Hello?
Yeah, we're good.
Hello?
That's your end.
Hola? Anybody?
That's
¿Cómo
your
estás?
¿Está bien?
Buenos días. I can't hear y'all. I was frozen on my end.
Yeah, we hear you. Oh man, so you brought up Jerry Davis. He was so cool, wasn't he?
Remember Jerry?
He was perfect for the golden era. I was about to ask you. Have you talked to him?
Love Jerry Davis. I mean, he was another mentor. I'm telling you, I was really, really blessed to be around some good people because I was much younger. And you know, dancing back then in LA was tough because if you weren't 21, you couldn't get in the club. So sometimes we would perform and then they would escort you out after. The Palladium was popping at the time, Paradise 24, but it really, for me, and I was signed. to a label already. I was signed to 2 labels, to A&M and also to Warner Brothers. And it would be Jerry Davis, Easy. Eric had a bodyguard friend. His name, we called him Big Ron.
Oh, Big Ron.
Big Ron. And I was just saying, take me out, take me around. I just wanted to have a good time. You know, I wasn't 21 yet. And now in hindsight, when I look back and I think about all these business meetings, I'm like, oh, they really were working. And that's when I, you know, the pieces started to come together like, oh, this is a job. We're not just paid to dance. This is a real job here.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
I'm just seeing, like, I love seeing, like I said, the parallel journeys. Because I remember when, like I said, our heyday was, you know, dwindling down. And I was ready to venture into something else. And I remember I asked Tretch and Ricky Bell, I was like, man, I need to do something. I need a job. And they were just like, I think you can do something bigger than that. So they were like, I can give you something, but are you sure that's what you want to do? And even Cliff especially.
Yeah.
Because Will Smith was actually, you know, kind of like not really looking up to him, but like, you know, he gets starry-eyed when he sees Cliff. So it was like hard asking Will Smith for a job when the dude is kind of like bigging you up. So it was like, yeah, it was in a funny position. So I'm glad that worked out for you.
Well, you
I
know,
didn't know what to do after the game at first.
yeah, I mean, it's really a blessing to, I think, be able to say that you danced and choreographed and you were able to make something out of that love and passion. So many were not able to.
Right.
And, you know, even now I am director of communications for a very large school district. We have 140 schools and centers, right? So I'm over communications, the marketing, the television station, and publicity. But I was able to do that because I had been a marketing leader for record companies, right? So it's pretty much, you know, the same thing. Whether it's a recording artist or the superintendent of schools, although one is, you know, a little bit more political. But I think, you know, it was tough for so many of us. I would say the mid-90s. We were losing people that we loved. You know, Eric was gone, Pac was gone. The culture was, we were kind of all over the place, and a lot of us were asking the questions. So we've just had this great 10 years of performing and entertaining and loving each other and having a great time. Some good times, some bad times, but it was still great because we were living our dreams. And then
That's right.
Then you're 25 and you're like, well, what do you mean we're not going to have car vouchers? You know, the car's not coming from
Right.
What do you mean we don't have a card, a credit card to pay for this food, you know? So things started to change for us. The budget started to change. And I think we just had to grow up and figure out what life would look like, you know, for the next 20 years. And I'm just grateful, you know, that I made the decision at the time to work for a record company and take all of that energy I had as a dancer and now feed to someone else who was an artist trying to pursue the dream.
Right. Well, before, okay, because I don't know.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Ledge. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm trying to get in as much as I can because it's real fugazi out here in these parts. Okay. So I'm just saying, not sure if you touched this, but before working with these artists, you were an artist, right? So were you singing? Were you rhyming? Like, because I don't know if you've mentioned that because I didn't hear that part. Okay.
Well, actually what happened was a short story. There's an artist, Tragedy. Shout out to Tragedy. And Marley and Magic were at WBLS, you know, with my dad. And I just knew that there was some kind of way to merge hip hop and R&B. And I was like, yo, let me hop on that. I knew I wasn't a singer, but I knew I could sing.
Right.
And I knew that that's kind of where the trend was. Okay, if I could just, you know, bring some melody to this and and sing and you know, rap a little something, then I can be an artist. Well, I don't think anybody at the time understood what I was talking about. Marley would put me in the booth and he would say, okay, I'm going to put on Raw. Now sing. And I would be in the booth like, I think we're supposed to have maybe some keys on here, a little keyboard. I had a really tough time as an artist because it was the beginning. So remember, this is before, you know, your Marys and your Aaliyyees. The labels, they just weren't there yet. And so initially I signed with A&M Records, and Warner Brothers, Benny Medina signed me. So I think I might have been one of the first with him. And I just recorded, you know, for a couple of years. And I had my single, Check the Mirror, through, you know, Warner. And to make a long story short, shout out to Marley Marl and Tyrone Williams. Barry White took me to Marina Del Rey, to the Cheesecake Factory.
Oh, I know exactly where you were at.
And, you know, he asked me if I was happy. And, you know, I told him, well, you know, I'm a dancer at heart, but I don't want to lose myself. And let me tell you how dope this is. They are now called the Far Side, but initially my producers were the Far Side before they were the Far Side.
Oh, wow. Look at that. That's dope.
Recorded in Crenshaw. It was John Barnes.
LAJ.
LHA. Yeah, who else was that? I'm trying to remember my whole crew. It was Trey, John Barnes. Can't remember, but anyway, this is before they were the Far Side. I think the label had a problem with trying to find out where I fit. They wanted me to be, you know, the girl MC Hammer. New York, that wasn't what it didn't fit. I was like, no, that's not really me. Eventually, when Mary came out and Aaliyyeeee came out, I was like, that's kind of what I meant, you know. But in the very beginning, I just didn't have that support. And you know, a couple of months ago, Pete Rock said to me, he was like, Portia, I used to love that record, Check the Mirror. We just didn't know what to do with you. And I was like, I know. So I think, you know, there are people that God gifts to open doors, and the door opener, you know, and then there are people that came in after, you know, that were able to actually make it happen. But initially I was supposed to be that hip hop R&B artist, recorded one single. I actually recorded an album, but we dropped a single. And after that interview, I just was not comfortable. I felt like I was going to be something that I wasn't, and that just was not me. I probably should have faked it though, right? Yeah. But I didn't, and you know, all things happen for the good. So yeah, but I was an artist. Yep.
So Barry White, I could just feel like he had some strings or music playing while he was talking to you real smooth. Like, was it like that, or was it just regular?
No, Barry was a friend of my dad's, and I think my dad knew, you know, the label had me out there for so long. And I think my father was concerned. He called Barry and he said, you know, do me a favor, take Portia out, you know, find out where her head's at and see where you can support. And Barry was signed to A&M. So, you know, he just asked me if I was happy and kind of like where my head was at. And again, this is, you know, this is in the beginning where rap is new, the industry is new. You know, merging hip hop with R&B was kind of new. And I think you have a lot of artists from back then. I remember Jasmine Guy having a record. There were a few of us that had a record and people just did not know what to do. And especially me, because I was not I don't want to say a choreographed dancer. I mean, I obviously can dance to choreographed dance, but I was a freestyler. You know, I went by feeling and emotion, and you played that record and you know, you went crazy. And you know, so that was the difference with me. And I did not know how to make that mainstream, better way of putting it. So, and I think I intended to go back and record. It just didn't happen that way. I continued to go on tour. And, you know, I started working for Tupac, and then, you know, things changed. So.
Right.
Did you have something to do with that video, that dance video on A&M with Herb Alpert? Did you have something to do with that? Where all the dancers was in it?
No, but I remember that. I think I had left at that time. I think then I was with Warner Brothers.
Oh.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. So where happened? Where'd you go, bro?
I'm right here. I'm trying to make sure I have. Can y'all hear me good?
Yeah,
I have
great.
a question. Thanks, Ledge. Thank you so much. I have a question. So can we find your single anywhere, Portia?
Oh, I'm sure. Like if you go on YouTube, you'll see it. Just put in Portia, or put in Marley Marl, check the mirror, and you'll see it come up.
Okay. And so let me just fast forward a little bit.
I'm sorry. Who's in there? Michelle is dancing in there, and Katrina.
Oh, so there's a video and everything. Okay.
Yeah.
That's dope.
And I remember when we recorded right by St. Nicholas, and what was Herbie's not foreplay? What was Herbie's that production company that Herbie had? They did it.
I forget the name. I forget the name of the
Herbie
production company.
I
forget the name.
Herbie's production company. I actually remember. I'm not remembering all these names, but who's the gentleman that played Rudy's brother in the Cosby Show? Malcolm Jamal Warner.
Malcolm Jamal, yes.
He wanted to direct the video, and it was Herbie's production team that actually wound up directing the video. Yeah, but it was right on St. Nicholas. And I remember them saying to me over and over again, Portia, you're not a dancer in this, you're the artist. So we need you to move up. I was so used to being that. And they were like, no, you're an artist in this. So we need you to move up.
Right.
Yeah.
Hold on, let me bring V in real quick. There you go. Yo, V, you on?
Hey, V. I have a quick question. Because I don't.
What's up, y'all?
I have a quick question. I'm so mad at this. Hey, V. Healthy Hearts for Hip Hop. I definitely want to know about that. I want to know, where are you with Healthy Hearts for Hip Hop? Please give us the story behind that, because I think that it's so awesome, sis. I think that Healthy Hearts for Hip Hop is a huge step towards so much greatness. So please let them know about Healthy Hearts for Hip Hop.
Well, I think you remember, I might have come to you with it, years ago. I think it started off, actually, Eric Sermon had a heart attack. And I remember saying, gosh, we're all getting up there. And whether it's high blood pressure or cholesterol, we just never thought we would have those conversations because, one thing about hip hop, you're always feeling like you're that teen again, on a dance floor. And I remember saying, but we're not young anymore. We're having heart attacks and we're suffering, whether it's, social emotional wellness or getting our sugar, right. And with fighting diabetes or depression or anxiety. And so I said to Eric, I said, why don't we have like a hip hopathon, like something like where we're walking the streets and, even Magic had his heart attack. I want to do something that can inspire the culture to get healthy again. And so, one day I was vacuuming and, I looked at the vacuum looked a little bit like a DJ. And I said, let me just put up this phone here and do a quick video. I think that was like maybe 7 years ago. and I put on some JB and started rocking to it. And I told people, just put on your favorite record and rock to it. 10 minutes is better than nothing. But we have to do something to, get our bodies in order, our minds in order. And, ever since then, I've on occasion, posted these videos, and I do it with the purpose of, again, just inspiring people to get moving, to meditate. For me, when I'm dancing, it's not just about, trying to lose weight, but I might have had a really bad day at work. And that's where you find some peace, it might not look like it, but I can come in still with my business suit on, really bad day, and, a little down. And then I just put on James Brown, turning loose, and that's it, and my mind gets right. So Healthy Hearts for Hip Hop is just a way for us to get healthy again, for us to engage with our youth as well. One of the things that I like about having conversations with my daughter is, teenagers aren't always on the same page, with their parents, but it was always nice to be able to say, Shanoa, have you ever heard of Mobb Deep? Have you ever heard of Black Moon? And then for Shanoa to say, have you ever heard of, and so to be able to engage in a conversation over this culture. I remember at one point realizing that, Shanoa listens to hip hop too, but we're different. Our fashion is different. Our lingo is different. And to be able to engage with our young people in a very healthy way. And especially because I feel like hip hop took a turn. In fact, when French Montana, he was one of my artists at Brick Squad. And when I got him on the cypher for BET, for the BET Hip Hop Awards, they sent in a track. I think it was Jesse Collins emailed me the track that he would do his cypher on. And it was a James Brown record. And I'm like, just so excited. French said to me, he said, well, why are you so excited? Why are you so excited? And I said, yo, French, of all records, you have a JB record. And he really didn't understand why I was so excited. But then I saw, well, there we go. There's the disconnect. It's very different for them. It's good, but it's very different for them. And to be able to have those conversations, where do we fail our young people, or, how can we make up for, for that period of time, the 10, 15, 20 years that we did not take this culture and make it our own, especially for people of color. We created this, and, like I know, a lot of these labels were not, owned by people of color.
Yes.
And to find out, where we dropped the ball and why are, our young people killing one another, and how can we take this and turn it around to be something good. The same way, I remember maybe, I guess it was 20 years ago when Ice-T did that truce with, what was that? Watts. Remember that truce he did? Things that will make an impact on our community so that our young people can live and hope and believe. And that's what this was about. Half of us would have been in jail if we didn't have the corner to dance, right? Whether it was dancing, emceeing, writing, graffiti, what would have happened if we didn't have that? And so at some point, I don't know what happened, but I feel like we got comfortable and the purpose was missed. People were more focused on being popular than purposeful.
Definitely.
So that's what Healthy Hearts for Hip Hop is, just bringing purpose back to hip hop.
So I want to talk about, because this is like right here, so inspirational to me, because like certain artists their music might be hot, but they, like I said, being older now, they inspire me in different ways, right? So I'm watching Ludacris, right? I always like his songs, but you never hear him in like, who's your top 5? You might not hear Ludacris' name,
Okay.
but it's a constant, steady climb, smooth, just going up, 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 up. And I see that you are part of the brand that even got him up on the Forbes list. So tell me like how that was, like without having too much, like, that Michael Jackson flash and all cameras following you around. But like I said, the moves he's making is constantly going up. So how was it being a part of that? And what was your part in it?
Well, I was a marketing director for, initially it was Def Jam South, and we were so successful that it became Disturbing the Peace Records. Shaka Zulu and Jeff Dixon, were kind enough to allow me to come in and make some moves for the brand. But one thing that I will say about Chris is that Chris was always a businessman, and he got the bigger picture. What I loved about working with Chris is if it made sense, he was open to it. I never saw Chris as a rap artist. Now, Chris is nice. Chris is nice lyrically. I don't know how many people know how nice Chris is, but if I went to Chris and I said, you know what, Chris, let's for Chicken and Beer, the album, let's have a chicken and beer special at Gladys Knight's Chicken and Waffles. Chris was with it. If I had the plan, if it made sense, he was always willing to grow the brand and understood, that he wouldn't be an artist forever. And sometimes being an artist means, flipping that and being an artist in different ways. So he was always open to growing. He had a very healthy circle around him. Shout out to Miss Roberta, his mother, who was the head of the Ludacris Foundation. And I think the one thing that I learned about Chris, and not just from Chris, also from 2 Chainz, okay, is you have to be open, and you have to allow the people that are in your circle to do their jobs. A lot of the artists that you don't see grow, they come in, they know it all, and it's like, no, I'm the manager, I'm the publicist, and I know more than you about marketing, and I know more than you about styling, and I know. And you should always have a voice, don't get me wrong. But part of having a label and great management is having a circle of people around you that know more and allowing them to, do their job. So I think that we were successful with DTP because you had a talented crew that were able to do their jobs and do it well. And Chris was always receptive to that. And so was Tit. They never took no for an answer. They just continued to say, I'm a brand and give me more. What else can I do? And they were open. And I think that's critical to do because, that's part of being, that's part of the story that I've told today, that at some point I knew I wasn't going on tour anymore. So what does that mean? That means go back to college and get my BA. That means going into radio or working for a record company or becoming an attorney. Or teaching music at a public school. It means doing something else, So
Definitely.
Yeah,
Definitely.
dreams to continue to be relived and reborn.
Could you help some of our independent people out here? Because in LA, we're like, people try to build their brand or whatever the case may be. So they was like, get to the stage where they might need a good PR person, right?
Yes.
But in LA, we've been getting a lot of people that say they can do things like when everybody was a grant writer, and they really weren't. You know what I'm saying? So it's like everybody's a PR person, but they really not. So what are the good signs to look for and not be controversial. Like I ran into a friend of mine is a PR person, but she's a controversial PR person. Like this is what I do. So basically, I had a web series, and she was like, "Well, I'm messy. So if one of them get caught in a gay scandal or get shot, I'll blow you up. If not, I can't really do nothing for you because I'm a messy PR person. You know what I'm saying? That's what I do. So what can we look for? Some good signs for a good PR person to know before we hire them."
Okay, so this is one thing to keep in mind. The industry has changed. This isn't 20, 30 years ago. 20, 30 years ago, you had a scout, you had somebody out there looking for talent, right? And so as they're looking for talent, there's already a budget, there's money out there to, feed into the artist that's there. And we'll sign them and we're going to give them this big advance and then we're good to go, right? It's different today. So the first thing that I would say is this, and this actually for me was the difference between DTP and then going to Brick Squad with Gucci and Nicki. Nicki had a fan base. They were Barbies on Twitter, on MySpace, actually. Okay. So she built her brand. She didn't wait for a record label to make her a star. So, if anybody says, well, I made you a star, actually, no, it was already there. She laid the groundwork. So I'm saying all this to say, if you're an artist or whatever your brand is, and you're trying to break through, people should already know who you are. Yeah. And you need a publicist for that. People knew who we were as dancers before we had a publicist. We didn't have a publicist. We didn't have a publicist. We didn't have a budget. We didn't have a bus ticket. You know what I mean? But we had a name for ourselves. So the first step is create the name for yourself. Find your street team. There are people that already believe in you. And if they really believe in you and you're as hot as you say you are, then your street team's already there, whether it's online or in the streets. So I think the wrong thinking is for you to go to someone and say, if I had the money, can I hire you to make me hot? The answer should be no. Nobody can make you hot. So you come to the PR person, if that's what you're looking for, hot already. And they will blow you up.
There we go.
Okay. And so how do you know if this PR person will be able to do it? They already have a track record. Like I said to you before, most PR people have been doing this a long time. And if they haven't been doing it a long time, you just need to have somebody who's in your corner that is really passionate about you. So they might not be that traditional PR person that's worked for a record company, but they're a great writer. Please make sure they know how to write. They know how to write. They can do your bio. They can pitch. They can tweet for you. They can set up your website. They can do a lot of these smaller things to kind of seed your brand. But I think the wrong thought is, I can pay someone to make me hot. That's not how it works. You make yourself hot. And then what will happen is people will start talking about you. The buzz will be out there. And even the record label people will start to hear about you, right? So when you go to the club on Friday and Saturday night, that DJ, when you go up to the booth, he'll spin your record if he's heard about you. Okay, he won't be afraid to play your record because your name's been out there a little bit. So I don't like to go the PR route. I kind of, my strategy is a little different. I go the DJ route, making sure the DJ has the record, your name's already out there, getting them to spin your record. And once they spin your record, if it continues to grow and it makes sense, radio will pick it up. And then maybe you need a PR person. But put your money in, I say initially, in just getting your name out there, whether it's recording or, making sure that you're connecting with your DJs and they like the record, and doing some focus groups. I did a focus group with Nicki with her mixtape. I went to the AUC to Clark Spellman and Morehouse and just gave out some free pizza and sodas and just asked them to sit there and eat and played a record for you know, played her CD for a few hours, her mixtape with DJ Holiday, and got feedback. So that's the kind of stuff that you want to do, and you don't need a PR person for that.
It's amazing, like listening to see how like happy and peaceful your story is with Nicki Minaj, and then like you see Bimbi's sister. What's her name again?
Oh, Deborah.
Deborah. It's like it's happy, but you feel a little pain too. You know what I'm saying? It's like you so happy when you watch that documentary. It's like a lot of pain in there.
It was painful for me too. It was very painful. Yeah, it was painful because it was an investment. It was our time. See, the problem is that what's happened with the record industry is that you have so many people that say, I do PR and marketing and I do this and I do that. Well, some of us have been doing it for 20, 30 years. Some of us went to college for it. It's not just some kind of hustle. It's not it's not a game of craps on the street. Like, this is what we went to school for. This has been our life and what we're passionate about. And so when people think that you can, well, I paid you for it. You know, there's not one record company executive who's not passionate about their artists. You give everything to these artists because you believe in them when nobody else does. There's plenty of times that, you know, with our artists that, you know, we have to be an advocate for them. No, you know, don't drop them. No, they're nice. No, give them another chance. Now that part, you know, is tough because it's one thing to make a name for yourself and be hot in the streets, but it's another thing to be able to sell it to an executive and ask them to put money into your career. And so when you're forgotten for, you know, your hard work, it you know, it does hurt, but you reap what you sow. Mm-hmm. And again, if you're doing whatever you're doing, if you're doing it with the right heart, God sees all of it. So yes, it's painful for me as well, but you reap what you sow.
That's right.
Always.
That's right.
And I've told every artist that I've ever worked with that I remember, you know, I remember when Cold Crush was here, Kool Moe Dee was here, Big Daddy Kane was here, Hammer was here. Remember when Hammer had the whole arena?
Yeah.
Hammer had the whole arena.
Yeah.
I think Hammer was bigger than a lot of these artists that we're talking. He had it on lock. His show was like, wow. Okay?
Yeah.
And I'm saying all this to say that, you know, you got to put it in perspective. None of us has a gift or a talent just because we're just the ish. You know, God blesses you with these gifts and these talents to be able to make someone else's life better. Yes, he wants you to enjoy life and love what you do. But every move that I make has to be built into a purpose. I went and worked with Deborah because Deborah was passionate and this was a dream of hers. And I believed after, you know, praying on it that it was something that I had that maybe that I could add, you know, to her journey. And I did that. But it does hurt when you invest in people and the investment isn't two-way. And that's why it's just so critical that whatever you do, there's actually a scripture that says, whatever you do, do it for, you know, God and not for man, because you're going to get hurt. Mm-hmm. This business is nasty. Mm-hmm. And if you were to say to me, you know, Portia, why do you think maybe you weren't an artist or why you weren't able to go as far? Because it was nasty. And my heart wasn't built for that. Mm-hmm. You know, and when you're in this business, the loyalty's just not there. I mean, it's not there. You know, it's definitely a business and everybody's trying to get hot and popular and rich. Mm-hmm. You know, and then there are just some of us that are passionate about music. We love what we do. You know, we have a higher calling. We're looking to build a legacy and not build a mansion. you know, but you reap what you sow, and you know, every knee will bow, believe it. So, you know, I'm saying all this to say that, you know, this isn't about Deborah. It's not about Nicki Minaj. It's about the industry as a whole.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, God has some expectations of us, and we all are talented, sir. All of us. We all are gifted. We're all talented, and we're expected to do some great things with it to bless others. It's not really about us, essentially. So.
Yeah. Beautiful, beautiful. Man, it's been a lovely, lovely time spending with you, Portia. You didn't spit some game.
It's been a blessing to be here.
And before we go, too, I want to commend you because, like I said, I'm a fan of, like, you know, certain things that people just might pass. And I see you had a learning channel and public access. Like, even though, like, I'm in post-production, like, I never did a big Seinfeld or something, but I like those little shows. Like, I started off doing public access, and like kids would take their class online, but it was live TV.
Right.
So that's how I started. So it's like when I saw that, I was like, man, that's dope. That's dope. So did you enjoy that?
Well, what it is the school district that I work for, and a lot of large school districts have their own television channel, right? So you have a government channel and you have a school district channel. Well, we have over, I guess, 90,000 students, like I said, 140 schools. And so one of the shows that I produce to Bridge is kind of like 106 in Park for education. It's like the Zoom of DeKalb County School District. But it's an educational channel, and I produce educational edutainment programming, programming that not only entertains our young people, but also educates them. Because this is also something to keep in mind, okay? That our young people, it's pretty sad that when our young people are able to know a rap record from beginning to end, but they can't do a simple math problem. There's something wrong with that. And so that's why I'm saying, you know, we have a lot of popular television shows and a lot of popular artists. And, you know, don't get me wrong, I was a part of that as well. But at the end of the day, we have to make sure that we're giving back to our young people. And a lot of what we're seeing from them today is acting out, and they're in pain. And we have the prison to the pipeline, right? And a lot of these hot little TV shows, you know, they might be entertaining to watch, but some of our kids are at home just hungry.
Yep.
You know, they're hungry. Literally. They got to go to school just to eat. And those are the kinds of things when you're in the studio, you know, you got that hot record, right? You should also be thinking about how to turn that hot record around, and then also make sure that you're giving back to your local school district, to your K through 12. If you ask me, one of the things that blew my mind was going from entertainment to education, reaching back out to some of those people that I invested in. And because I can't offer money like a pay date, they're not available. So it's just something to keep in mind, you know, for all of our artists, for all of our entertainers, for all of our celebs, please, in your local community, you know, I know you're getting paid $75,000, $50,000, $15,000 for a show this weekend. I get it. But when you go to, you know, your local school and you talk to some of these young kids and you're like, you know what, you are dope and you really should go to school. When you do that, when you invest in them, it really makes such a big difference. It really, really does. I mean, you can't do Black Lives Matter and not reach back out to your local community. So just to kind of keep that in mind as you get big and you do these big tours, and please give back to the young people.
Whew, man, Portia, it's been a pleasure. I've been waiting all these years to meet you, and it was worth the wait because you kicked that game today.
Yay! We together. Can I kick it?
Yes, you can.
Thank you.
What's up? Yo, that was a dope interview, y'all.
She was kicking that game, wasn't she?
Yes, she was.
Woo, we did it.
Hey, let me cut this.
Would love to continue to partner and
Hey, yo, how you doing, Portia?
Hey, sir.
All right. I'm here chilling at this battle rap event. I got my little man right. Yeah, I got my little man right here.
Hey. How are you?
His name is Lil Slap. He's the youngest battle rapper.
Sweet.
Wow.
he's about to compete in a second.
Okay. Nice.
Good luck.
We can't hear y'all. I got the headphones on.
Sound is loud.
Okay, yeah, it's loud. It's loud. So, yo, man, I was just checking in. Portia, that was a beautiful interview. It was dope to hear your story. I enjoyed it. Yo, keep up the good work. That you have a blessed life. That's everything is good. I'm glad you're doing the thing for the hearts too, because I had open heart surgery, so that was something right there that was dope.
Be well. Be well.
Yeah, it's all good. So, yo, I'm gonna go because it's loud over here, and I just want to tell you, peace and blessings. You guys had a dope interview. I enjoyed it, and yo, God bless.
God bless.
Yes.
Yeah, Portia. Yeah, I'm telling you, they feeling this one. So, man, we appreciate you. I said you was well worth the wait. Portia Kirkland, say the whole name, not one at a time. Portia Kirkland, like James Brown.
Like James Brown.
Yes.
In my next life, they're gonna call me James Brown.
That's right. That's right. But yeah, man, come back anytime. You can always be a recurring guest like Salima. It's not a one and done. Always come back and kick. Always.
That's my sister. Yep.
Cool. So on behalf of Afro and V Love and our guest, the great Portia Kirkland, next week is Mother's Day, so we'll see you the week after.
Yes, happy Mother's Day to all of the moms, to Afro, Shane, Marilyn, Carolyn, all my sisters. Happy Mother's Day.
Cool. So we honored. See you guys in 2 weeks.
Bye.
Peace.